Okay, so it is Flashback Friday. We're going to talk about something that we haven't talked about for a while, and in the spirit of Flashback Friday, yes, that is a picture of me. One of the students pointed out that there was no pencil behind my ear, so I drew one in. Lovely artwork, right? Okay, now, we're going to be working on writing equations based on story problems. Now, we've talked about a whole bunch of words that can mean each of those operations. We talked about how we could not come up with a list of every single word that means each of these operations. But anything that means a one-time increase means addition. So gaining money, finding something. Anything that talks about increasing one time is addition. On the other side of that, anything that talks about a one-time decrease, so losing, spending, anything along those lines would mean subtraction. Now we emphasize on both of these that we're talking about a one-time increase or a one-time decrease. Because if we do either one of those again and again and again, that's a repeated action. That's multiplication. Lastly, we have division, and division, means that we are splitting something up evenly. Now we know that with story problems, we read through 3 times. And the first time we read through, the only thing that we care about is defining that variable. Now I do not mean tell me what the solution is. Don't tell me x equals 7. I want to know what x represents in the story. Okay, so something like x equals hours worked or y equals money earned. And when we're writing our equation or our inequality, we're watching out for words that mean negatives or words that tell us we should use an inequality. When we're writing our equations, that's what we want to write. We want to use an equal sign. But there are some words that would indicate that we're using an inequality. What are some of those words or phrases that might indicate we're using an inequality rather than an equation? Some words we might see that might mean inequality rather than equation. If they flat out say less than or equal to, what else might indicate that we're using an inequality?
At least.
At least, or at most, or no more than, or no less than. Any of those phrases would imply that we're using an inequality. Okay, so let's read through these, and we're going to read through each one 3 times. The first time we read through, the only thing we care about is a variable. So let's read that first one, and let's think about a variable in that story.
Eric is a guitarist. He has 87 songs, and he records 3 new songs every month. How long will it take him to have 135 songs recorded?
Okay. What are they asking us to find? What's the unknown in this story? The month. We want to know how long this is going to take. That's time, guys. That we're not asking how many songs will he have recorded. We know how many songs he'll have recorded. We want to know how long it will take him. And that's months. Okay, because he records 3 new songs every month. Now the second time we read through, that's when we think about the numbers and the operator words. So let's read through a second time.
Eric is a guitarist. He has 87 songs, and he records 3 new songs every month. How long will it take him to have 135 songs recorded?
Okay, so what are some numbers or operator words here?
87 songs.
87 songs. What else? 3 new songs. Okay, and that's 3 new songs every month. Okay, what else? 135 songs. Okay, so now we want to read it a third time, and this is the time when we really want to think about building that equation. Okay, so let's read it a third time.
Eric is a guitarist. He has 87 songs, and he records 3 new songs every month. How long will it take him to have 135 songs recorded?
Okay, so what we want to think about here is Eric's got a whole bunch of songs. Okay, and he's recording more songs. We want to know how long it's going to take him to have a particular number. So, this 3 new songs every month. If we look at what we wrote down, this one should jump out. It's the most writing. Plus it's got this word every. What operation does every probably mean here? James? Multiplication. Now, every sometimes can mean division. How do we know that this time it's going to mean multiplication? It's being repeated. He's recording those 3 songs again and again and again. So now I have this 135 songs and this 87 songs. What's the difference between those two? What's the difference between the 87 songs and the 135 songs? And what's the 135 songs? That's his goal. That's what he wants to have. Okay, so we're starting with 87, and we're going to add to it until we get to 135. So let's build that equation. We've got 87 plus 3 new songs every month until he has 135 songs. That's our equation. Now guys, on Monday, when I'm checking this assignment from you, I'm going to be looking to see that you define the variable. I'm going to be looking to see that you listed these things. I'm going to be looking for this equation. Okay, then I want to see you solve it. How are we going to solve it? Where do we begin? Vertical line through the equal sign. Yes. Followed by what? The note. And what's the note going to say this time? Good. They're multiplying by 3, and they're adding 87. So now what? What now? Inverse operations in reverse order. So they're multiplying by 3 and then adding 87. What are we going to do? We're going to subtract that 87 from both sides. Okay, and what's that going to give us? What's 87 minus 87? 0. Bring down the plus 3m. Equals what? Equals 48. Sorry about that. Okay, keep going. Now what? What's 0 plus 3m? Just 3m. And look at that. They're not adding that 87 anymore. But they are still subtracting, or excuse me, multiplying by 3. So, what are we going to do? If they're multiplying by 3, what do we do? Divide both sides by 3. Okay, and we can use a calculator if we need to. But 3 divided by 3 is going to give us 1. So we have 1m. What about 48 divided by 3? 16. So we have m equals 16. Now we have our solution. We should check that solution. So we should sub that back into the original. So 87 plus 3 times 16. Well, 3 times 16 is 48. Okay, 87 plus 3 times 16. 3 times 16 is 48. 87 plus 48 does, in fact, give us that 135. So the solution checks out, but the question was asked with a complete sentence. So we should answer it with a complete sentence. Can you give me a complete sentence, please?
It took Eric 16 months to record 135 songs.
It took Eric 16 months to record 135 songs. Now, how else could we say that? 16 months might sound a little weird. It's okay, though. It's perfectly good. How else could we say 16 months? Good. So we can say it took Eric either 16 months or a year and 4 months to record 135 songs. Now we want to ask ourselves if that seems reasonable. Well, it's tough for us to wrap our heads around that. But keep in mind, he's recording 3 songs a month. Okay, so if he's recording 3 songs a month, yeah, That's reasonable. That's going to take him some time. Okay? Okay, next up, let's talk about Gino. Okay, so let's read about Gino's deep-sea fishing trip.
Gino is deep sea fishing. He has 180 feet of fishing line in the water and reels in 2 feet per second. How long will it take him? How long will it take for his hook to reach a depth of at most 50 feet?
Okay, so what are they asking us to find here? What's the question part in this story? How long is that going to take him? They're talking about time. What kind of time? What kind of time, Aaliyah? Seconds. So, Aaliyah, what variable do you want to use for seconds? X works for me. If you want to use S, that's fine. Just make sure that it's a cursive S. A print S looks too much like a 5. Okay, so let's read it a second time. And the second time we read through, let's think about the numbers and those operator words.
Gino is deep sea fishing. He has 180 feet of fishing line in the water and reels in 2 feet per second. How long will it take for his hook to reach a depth of at most 50 feet?
All right, so there's Gino, and Gino's deep sea fishing. Right now, he's got his fishing line in the water. Here it is, and we'll put the hook on it. There we go. And we'll give him a little fish that chase. All right, so now, what numbers and or operator words do we have? What numbers and operators? Space, give me one. 180 feet. And what's the 180 feet? Okay, that's where his fishing line is now. Okay, keep going. Give me something else. 2 feet per second. Okay, give me another one. Give me another one, Troy. 50 feet. Okay, so we read through a third time, and we want to think about what's happening in this story. So let's read that one more time.
Gino is deep sea fishing. He has 180 feet of fishing line in the water and reels in 2 feet per second. How long will it take for his hook to reach the depth of at most 50 feet?
Okay, so he's got his line in the water. What's happening? What's happening to the length of that line? What's happening to the length of that line, Tasha? It's getting shorter. He's reeling it in, which means it's getting smaller. So he's starting at this 150 feet. Okay, what's he doing to that 150 feet? Or 180 feet? What's he doing to that 180 feet? James? He's subtracting. How much is he subtracting? He's subtracting from that 180 feet. How much is he subtracting? 2 feet per second. So what does that word per mean this time? What's that word per going to mean here? Multiply. Okay? He's reeling that 2 feet in again and again and again. So 2 feet per second. Now this 50 feet, that's our goal. That's where he wants to end up. But they're saying at most 50 feet. Which means we need to use an inequality symbol. Okay, Lucas says greater than or equal to. Now, or equal to makes sense, right? Because he can have exactly 50 feet. Can he have 51 feet in the water? No, he wants to have at most 50 feet in the water. Can he have 49 feet in the water? Yes. So it needs to be less than or equal to. So that 180 minus 2x needs to be less than or equal to 50 feet. Okay, now, we can solve this inequality the same way we solved an equation. We put the vertical line, We'll write the note, we'll use inverse operations in reverse order, and we'll check that solution. What's the only catch? The only thing that we have to do for inequalities that we don't have to think about with equations. What's the one thing that we have to worry about for that?
If you're multiplying or dividing a negative, you have to switch the inequality around.
Good. If we multiply or divide both sides by a negative, we have to reverse that inequality. So keep that in mind. Now the question's asked with a complete sentence, so ultimately it will be answered with a complete sentence. Okay, now the rest of this problem and this backside, these are going to be your homework. Well, you got some time right now to work on them. But whatever you don't finish in class, this is going to be your homework for tonight. Okay?